Well, it's Friday, and this is the fourth day of our 40 days of prayer. We're working through this season as a part of our Life Change Initiative. Again, if you didn't get one of these, make sure you grab this book when you come to church this weekend, or you can even grab it online. There's a PDF copy of it that you can get on our website. We've been talking about the Lord's Prayer and kind of working our way through praying that. The last two verses say this. It says, "And forgive us our debts as we have forgiven our debtors." There's something powerful about forgiveness. And when I am holding on to things, either things that I have not asked God to forgive me for, things that I have not asked others to forgive me for, or especially places where I've not offered forgiveness to others, it will hinder my prayers. When you have read this passage in Matthew 6, you can see that right after the Lord's Prayer, Jesus talks about forgiveness again. And there's many times throughout Scripture where the Bible talks about how my relationship with you, with other people, actually has an effect on my relationship with God. My vertical relationships are affected by my horizontal relationships. My spiritual is impacted by my relational. And so don't miss this important part of forgiveness. And I think asking God for forgiveness with confession and then seeking forgiveness in our hearts towards other people are such important steps when we come to God in prayer. And then the last thing that Jesus says in this prayer in Matthew 6 is, "And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one." I think it's a great acknowledgement that there is a spiritual dynamic. Sometimes we will use terms like spiritual warfare, that there are things going on around us where we ask God for his spiritual protection, that God would help us to see where temptation is, to realize that he's not leading us into it, to take the path that he would lead us on, and that he would deliver us from the evil one, that there is a spiritual battle that takes place. And I think half of that deliverance is just us knowing that it's there and choosing to go God's way instead of ways that would lead us into things that could be detrimental to our spiritual or personal lives. I hope that as we've walked through this week, as you've been reading through the Sermon on the Mount, that God has used these scriptures to impact your life. And I also hope that you're impacting your own life through adding these ideas of prayer into what we're doing here and using the Lord's Prayer as a model. As we get into this next week, we're going to talk more specifically about how we're going to pray for our church and the ways in which God is leading us as individuals and corporately to develop a new vision for our lives and the things that God has in store. Thanks so much for joining us as a part of this. Can't wait to see what God's going to do.